All right. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's AMA. It is Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and that means it's AMA time. Really, the purpose of today's AMA was just proof of life for Beetle Dude, just establishing that he is, in fact, still alive and kicking.
I haven't spoken yet, so dang it.
I gotcha. uh, we may have Dreamer join us here in a few minutes briefly. He is getting ready to board a flight, so he's kind of in between and depending on service, but he is going to try to join. Outside of that, we wanted to start off today. So we were at Cypherpunk last week, which is super exciting, really fun, super cool event. If you have not seen the DFK, oh, there's Dreamer. If you have not seen the DFK keynote that we did, it is on the DFK YouTube. Highly recommend checking it out. Dreamer, Sunbear, and myself kind of tag teamed it, and it was a lot of fun, actually. But I think it was pretty cool. There was also a small alpha drop at the end, so if you haven't checked it out, I recommend it. Speaking of our YouTube, last Thursday, in lieu of an AMA, some of our fine folks up here did a little Boars sneak peek behind the scenes stream and dropped a lot of alpha while I wasn't there to stop them. So if you missed that, I recommend checking it out. Also, you can check out WowE has, of course, compiled a very helpful spreadsheet of all of the alpha that was dropped. Go figure. But aside from that, while we were at the event, we did also make an announcement for a product called Mythic Swap. Now, generally speaking, we will not be talking about Mythic Swap in these AMAs, as these are the DeFi Kingdoms AMAs. However, we recognize we just made the announcement. We don't want to ignore everybody. We know y'all have questions. So we are going to take a few minutes to talk about Mythic Swap at the front of this AMA. But normally, moving forward, this will be the DeFi Kingdoms AMA, as it has always been. Mythic Swap does have its own Discord and Twitter, and we will do some AMAs over there. So if you have questions, take them over there for us, please. But to intro it, for anybody who missed the announcement, Mythic Swap will be a trading platform that we will be spinning up on different chains, available to anybody who wants to use it. So right now, all that we've done is make the announcement. We have not put out the white paper yet. That'll be in a few weeks. A lot more details to come. But the core of Mythic Swap is essentially the bazaar. So we are taking the bazaar, we're putting a non-gamified front end on it, adding some other features, and making it available for anybody to use on the chains that it goes live on. Which, of course, brings up the question. So there's been a few questions submitted. We're going to try to kind of just answer them all in bulk instead of going one by one, because we think we can hit them all. But that, of course, brings up the question of, what does this mean for DeFi Kingdoms? So DeFi Kingdoms remains, will be the flagship primary product of Kingdom Studios. That is not changing at all. What Mythic Swap is taking some of the technology that we've built for DeFi Kingdoms, spinning it out into another product, and making it available for others to use. And there's a few reasons that we're going to do that, which we'll be talking about momentarily. But overall, our focus and our flagship, our primary product, our primary, responsibility is DeFi Kingdoms, and that is not changing. So I wanted to kick over to Dreamer while we have him, because we might lose him, to touch on that. Dreamer, go ahead.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, you sound good.
Yeah. If I get robotic, please let me know. Yeah, thanks, Paul. That was a really good intro and overview. I think not only the bazaar, but there's other aspects of technology we have, like in the jeweler and other places that, it's beautifully designed for DFK. But a lot of that technology, people don't realize how incredible it is relative to other DeFi protocols out there. We are DeFi Kingdoms, and we have a lot of firsts. We do a lot of things better than others, but there are many participants in the space today, and maybe in the space in the future, or on the sidelines waiting for things like this to come out, that cater towards other meme coins or projects that are not necessarily gamified, or other games that don't have a marketplace and are failing to figure out how to solve for things we already did. The intent is in no way to leave DFK behind, but to take the assets, the technology, and get more of a return on it. So if folks are familiar with finance in general, there's what is it called, DuPont's framework, where you're looking at ROE. One of those inputs there is asset turnover. How can you more efficiently use the technology that you have? And one way is to take some of the already built, proven technology that we believe is superior and capture a different crowd on different chains. How hard is it to put DFK on every chain out there? It's hard. Matter of fact, for our main realms will probably be limited to about 4. We could have outposts. There's other things we could do. But as we look at our technology in the bear market, trying to be profitable and ultimately the ultimate long-term goal, trying to have more output for our flagship product, we need other ways to be more profitable with what we have today. So short term, there will be some time spent to add the pieces of that product that we don't have, like a front end, building a community, and adding some features on top of it. However, long term, the retained earnings that would flow into Kingdom Studios would allow us to do more for our flagship product, more hours, more devs, more art, more marketing. That today we're being very cautious about every single penny. So if successful, if Mythic Swap is successful, what does that mean for DFK? It means success for DFK. It means, at least on the development side, more output, more deep features, more people backing it. This is not an either or. This is not a leaving one for another. They're completely different products, further leveraging technology we have and will continue to build. And if we think about it other ways, and I'm going to kind of hand it over to others on the team in a second, how is Mythic Swap directly good for Jewel, for example? Because we're focused on Mythic Swap having its own token for regulatory reasons, for mass adoption, for it to make sense. But Jewel holders, likely those staking Jewel, will benefit from an undetermined, non-completed plan for Mythic airdrop. If we have Mythic Swap on DFK chain to cater to other games that build, that's going to use Jewel as gas. As other games are using Mythic Swap on every other chain that we get support from those teams to launch it on, we're going to have relationships with there and maybe talk them into collaborating with us or bringing them on the DFK chain. This is a finding tool. This is a asset turnover increasing effort. This is a long-term profitability of the company and overall game development effort. This is not a pivoting and ultimate strategy of Kingdom Studios in any way. And one important piece there is, okay, who's going to build it? Well, we have internally a lot of committees, one of which is called the Game Committee. And you oftentimes are interfacing with the Game Committee on the AMA here. That's primarily made up of Beetledude, Magnus, Second Miss Dad, and Hubert. They are the core geniuses and wizards of the game play. And they also spill over to a lot of other pieces. As we have Fox kind of touches everything and a lot of things outside of the core gameplay. When I say core gameplay, I'm talking about combat system, PvE, which we're about to experience, and others. Now, everybody touches the additional features as well, but one goal when we were thinking up Mythic Swap was to say, let's have minimal disruption on game development. That means these 4 individuals, we need to have them not be running lead on any part of it. It's not a daily thing. It's not a weekly thing. At most, it's 5 to 10% long-term distraction because they're also really smart and good at what they do. So Kingdom Studios, it would be unwise to launch a product without actually saying, hey, Hubert, what do you think about the math here? Hey, Beetledude, this is the front end. Do you have any suggestions? Hey, Magnus, these are the contracts. In any way we could optimize it. We can't completely silo. That would be not smart. But what is smart, I think, is to make sure the features that the community of DFK is focused on, who are really being developed by these 4 people with many others supporting them, we're leaving them almost completely untouched. That's very important to me. I think that's very important to everybody here to hear that. And I want to kind of sound off for those that are going to be contributing to this, to see in practice, this is a additional product line. It is not a replacement. It is not meant to slow down in a significant way or deter. Short term, there will be efforts put forth there, likely by Typical on the front end, who, hey, he's the one that did the front end on Bazaar. And Fox, hey, he's the one that coded the Bazaar. They've already done this once. They want to do it in a simpler way that caters to non-DFK. I think we have a good plan here, a good strategy that minimizes disruption and slowdown and maximizes long-term speed of development and scalability of the game of DeFi Kingdoms. So before I pause and hand it over, because I might get cut out, I believe in DFK. The whole purpose of the origin of dreaming up Mythic Swap was to make sure in a bear market we find other ways to make DFK not only live and survive, but scale and be as successful as possible in the space. So We're going to be working hard to make Mythic Swap successful. Please support us in that if you hear this view and this strategy, because if Mythic Swap is successful, that means that DFK is also further supported and incrementally more successful than on its own. So with that, I'll pause. I don't know, Fox, if you would like to go first, and then I kind of called out people on the game committee here. We have a few of them, Hubert and Magnus and Beetledude. Maybe it'll be cool to hear from you guys if you'd like. But Fox, over to you.
Great. Yeah, thank you. That was a good intro. And yeah, I mean, it's exciting. We as a studio, have always had our sort of like main flagship product over here. But the plan has always been to have multiple products as we go and as we sort of like learn and as we see what works and what doesn't work in the system and what needs there are in the space. This was a good opportunity for us to take existing things that we've already built and really pioneered and say, hey, how can we open this up to other projects? This is a thing that we wish had been around when we were starting out, because it's just really a great tool for other blockchain games that have a lot of like on-chain assets and on-chain tokens and things that they want to have a good marketplace to sell those. Uniswap is great for many things, but it's not always very great for sort of like in-game items and things like that. That's why we started looking at creating the bazaar in the first place. And so as we were building it, we just saw all these opportunities for like, hey, this is a thing that could really benefit everyone in the space in many ways, not just even like stuff like with games, but there's all kinds of things that we're adding to it and sort of like using the bazaar as a base, but really expanding on all of the cool opportunities that there are there with all kinds of really good features that we've got slated for Mythic Swap, many of which will actually work their way back into our game and improve the existing experience there in the bazaar as well. So I'm excited about that angle as well. As Streamer said, I worked on the bazaar, and so did Typical and Pinecone and others for all of the various parts of it. There's obviously like there's the front end, there's the smart contracts, there's the API, there's also like analytics and things like that, and of course there will be stuff with like marketing and stuff. And we have a really good team here that we've built over the years that can handle all aspects of that. And there's the community side as well. So yeah, we have that experience to make a successful product. We've already done it. We can do it again. And this is a great opportunity for us to do that. So let's see. One other thing I did want to mention, like we've been pushing the boundaries of blockchain gaming for the past 2+ years. And we've also been pioneering some new things in the DeFi space. That's always been our goal. Like we are DeFi kingdoms, right? Like we are very interested in the sort of like new approach to democratizing assets, where like you own your assets in the gaming world, but also pushing the boundaries for DeFi itself is a great opportunity and something we're very interested in doing. The other thing too is as Dreamer mentioned, we had the opportunity with this to very quickly and more easily than DFK expand to other ecosystems and other chains. And that really offers a cool opportunity for us to increase the reach of our products and to expose us to new like demographics out there beyond just the like traditional gamers and things like that. So really it's a cool opportunity for us to have more users that are associated with us and also more networking opportunities for like influencers and like investors and other things like that are in those other spaces. So I'm stoked about that as well. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. Obviously, I'll be spending a fair amount of my time over the next 2 or 3 months and more trying to build out the smart contracts and things for Mythic Swap. And I've already started on that actually, and it's in a pretty good space. But I'll also still be doing things like duels. Season 6 is around the corner, and I've been hard at work on that. I've also been helping with like the hunts and the equipment and like weapons and things, and expeditions as well. So I mean, I'll just be basically splitting my time and trying to protect those that are really influential on like the stuff for the game, and have them just basically be able to really concentrate on like boar hunts and like combat engine and all that type of stuff too. So that's really the intent there. But yeah, I'll hand the mic over to whoever wanted to go next. I don't know who that was.
Yeah, so I'll jump in real quick. So yeah, I don't really have too much to add. I just wanted to kind of reassure you guys that since the idea of Mythic Swap came about, which I can't, my sense of time is so broken at this point. I'm not sure how long ago that was. Maybe 2 months ago. I've maybe spent about 5 hours on Mythic Swap in one form or another, talking about it, reviewing things. So it's not very much at all, and majority of my focus has been on towards the continuing the work on getting the void hunts ready and just furthering the game. So just wanted to kind of echo what's been said, and just from myself, that's. I do want to still be involved in Mythic Swap to an extent. I do have a pretty good sense for math and numbers, and so I'll probably want to be reviewing some of those things a little bit in the future. But it's not going to be a major focus for me. So just want to make sure you guys feel reassured that way.
I can chime in here as well. Just want to reiterate that this year I've been entirely focused on core game-related features like power-ups, Quest V3, equipment, and then most recently the Void Hunts, as well as being part of the game committee with Beetle, Heward, and SBD. Actually, I haven't pushed a single commit to the Bazaar or Mythic Swap because I've been focused on all of the combat related items that come out of the game committee and other just kind of core features like questing and other things that are coming down the pipeline. Fox and I rarely work on the same feature at the same time, with some exceptions, but overall we have kind of like two different tracks of work that are going on the Solidity side at any given time, and it tends to work pretty well for our team. And we definitely have no plans to change that with the introduction of Mythic Swap. So all that is to say that I'm going to be I'm going to be laser focused on DFK development going forward, and I may contribute a little bit to the Mythic Swap efforts from time to time, but it definitely won't be my primary focus.
Beetle Dude, anything you wanted to add?
There is nothing but bores. It's all bores. There is nothing.
Sounds right.
No. Yeah, I mean, I'll just say that I haven't had to worry about Mythic Swap at all, and I've been doing a good job of not focusing on it and just focusing on the combat engine and everything involved with that. So that's going to be the way it goes, I think. Typical is very talented, so I think he'll be able to do an amazing job as well.
Awesome. I'm just going to add one last thing, and then we're going to move on to the DFK AMA, which is the whole point we're here. But I just wanted to add, that's one reason why you're going to see a very slow rollout with Mythic Swap. We announced it last Thursday. We're talking about another, 3 to 4 weeks before we even put the white paper out. Weeks after that, before we announce airdrop campaign. This is not something that we are trying to pull people away to focus on. It will be a slow roll for exactly that reason, to minimize that impact. So I just wanted to add that real quick. And then on to the DFK stuff. So, crap.
Sounds like the boars got him.
One just got tackled by Dark Bolon, probably.
Bolon, if you're talking or if you're screaming for help because of Tom the Fisher.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you go.
All right, there we go. Sorry, I hit the wrong button on my phone because I was multitasking in Discord, so I joined on my phone and then tried to flip back, and yeah. So on to the DFK AMA. The reason that we are all here. One thing I wanted to touch on real quick, because all of you have already made jokes, and it has therefore reminded me that it happened when I was trying to block it from my memory. I did a stupid. I got my Discord compromised. This is my public apology and public shaming. So apologies for that. It was a very, very good, in my opinion, phishing scam, and it got me. That said, I do want to commend Sachet, Zipper, our Knights, our community, and overall our security structure, because we have measures in place for exactly that scenario in case that happens. I hoped that we would never need to test them, but they worked, and they worked perfectly. So, our server is owned by a Discord account that no one stays logged into and no one uses for anything and is not connected to anything. But there's a few of us with access so that if one of our admin accounts gets hit, that account can come in and ban me in this situation. But from start to finish, I think we had everything cleaned up within a matter of like 3 minutes. It doesn't seem like too many people saw it, let alone, followed it or anything. We were able to help anybody that did. So again, sorry it happened, and I am adequately embarrassed about it. However, I am also very proud of our response to it. It was handled rapidly and very well, and I just want to say thank you again to our community for, rallying around that and helping us get it taken care of. So thank you all. Moving on from my shame, I will also plug real quick. I made an announcement probably like 12 hours ago. For those of you that are on Stars Arena, Stars Arena is a social platform native to the Avalanche ecosystem. So it has a live public feed where you can go follow people for free. And then you can also like buy tickets is what they're called, but you get access to like a chat room. But the DeFi Kingdoms account will be joining that platform after this AMA. So for anybody who's interested, please give us a follow. We are going to be using that to spread the good word of DFK. That whole platform is largely the Avalanche ecosystem right now. So it's a great opportunity for us to get in front of more and more people from the Avalanche ecosystem. And then as the platform grows past Avalanche, to continue to do so. But especially right now with it having a smaller user base, it's a lot easier to have your posts be seen. So we're really excited about that, and I'm looking forward to it. So like I said, if you don't use it, that's fine. You're not going to be like missing anything necessarily. But if you do use it, keep an eye out and give us a follow. Aside from that, for things that people want to hear more about, Beetle Dude.
That's me. Yes, thanks, Bolin. I mentioned that it's boars all the way down. It's boars all the time. And I wasn't lying, because it really is. But the nice thing about boars all the time is that it's getting us closer to some very exciting things. One is our, what I'll call almost an entirely revamped combat system. Enemies, PvE, and of course equipment. And I will mention that I've been putting different pieces of equipment and accessories and things on heroes, and it's been showing up. Some of them are different colors. I'm trying really hard not to drop any more alpha on accident. But it's really exciting to see it all come together. The hero generator has been much more interesting to look at and fun. So hopefully the hero catalog will also look quite a bit more vibrant when this is all said and done. But that's besides the point. I guess the point is that we are getting really close to releasing boar void hunts. We are in testing. We have let the knights loose on our boars to make sure that everything is looking up to snuff. So I will say that we are getting very close. I'm not going to give times yet, but it's exciting that we are getting to the point where we're just refining and making some last little tweaks before we'll be able to send it out and hopefully get other people whacking boars besides us or Sachet, because Sachet has been whacking so many boars. Don't take that in the wrong way, but he's been doing a great job. Great job, Sachet. And then I guess another thing is that we'll probably just to make sure that we can get void hunts out as quickly as possible, we'll probably be breaking the equipping portion of the equipment out until a subsequent release. So boar hunts first. Hopefully, shortly after that, the ability to manage equipment. And then, as we had been planning to do previously, it's not really a change of plans, but we had always planned on releasing the equipment auction after that point. So that portion of it is still the same, but as far as like the boars and the void hunts, those will probably come first, followed by equipping. So hopefully that's clear. You'll still be able to find equipment loot, and we are planning on doing airdrops for the equipment. And I just saw Starbucks comment. That's great. Anyway, it is. I'm so sorry. Good Lord. What have I done? So yeah, hopefully that's exciting news. I'm excited about it. We've been working really hard and long hours, and everybody's been putting in a ton of work. So, not a Mythic swap to be seen in my last month of work. So yeah, and I'll let other people talk because I feel like I'm rambling, and I blame lack of sleep. But yeah, who wants to go? Who's got something to say?
I've just been hovering the unmute button in case I needed to screech over an alpha drop. So
Thank you. Yes, thank you. That might be necessary.
Hubert or Magnus, want to add anything to boars?
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in here. Yeah, I guess first off, I think I maybe said this last week, but just need to once again give huge kudos to Beetle Dude. You can hear the exhaustion in his voice. You could hear it last week. He has really been going hard at it, and there's another one. But yeah, it's been really great to kind of like we've been going really I can only say hard but it's just been boars all the time for me as well. Been adjusting things constantly, throwing those to Beetle to change, and just kind of have had this back and forth between us and everyone who is doing tests and giving comments and getting things adjusted. And I really think it's feeling very good at this point. There's been a few minor things, a few little bugs that were found last night, but at this point, it's just making sure we have the right polish and the balance is feeling good for all levels. At least 10 through 20, and if you do below level 10, good job if you win, I guess. But you're gonna have a hard time. This fight is really hard, guys. We made it hard on purpose, and I think you should expect if you're going in without ever doing it before that you probably won't win on your first attempt. But maybe you will, and if you do, you can pat yourself on the back because that should be an accomplishment. I think it is. And yeah, it is looking like we're getting ready. So be prepared.
Yeah, I can chime in here as well. Yeah, we're definitely going to need to be dropping Beetle some stamina potions after this release. Been killing it lately. I realized today that with the single release, we're going to be doubling the amount of ERC 721s in the game. So that's pretty exciting. Took us up until this point to get 3, or I guess lands was the last major one. So it's cool to be adding so much new functionality with these with the weapons, armor, and accessories. In terms of hunts and boars, it's just really exciting time to be alive right now. The DFK universe, just a lot of work has gone into that. It's a really fun environment to work with everybody on this team. Everybody's just grinding constantly, especially these last couple weeks. It's like all bets are off for messages coming in at any point in the day. So yeah, it's just really exciting. Everybody's kind of like laser focused on getting this release out. So yeah, just really cool. Like the electricity's in the air. Really exciting time to be working on things, and glad to get this major milestone with the first release of hunts. So, yep, that's it for me.
If you heard nothing else in all of that Hubert's statement, it's really hard, guys. The key takeaway of this AMA.
I've played board games with Hubert, and when he says something is hard, he means it.
Right.
I'm weak.
Awesome. Did I forget any updates before we go into some questions? All right. Then we are going to go into some questions. So the first question is thoughts on implementing a Dutch auction system for the tavern, which would be where price starts high and then over time decreases in price.
I guess I'll take this one because that's already in there. We had a feature for that and we turned it off. The reason why, to my memory, which it was like almost a couple years ago, it actually supported both ways. So it supported having a price that started high and slowly went down over time. It also supported a price being low and slowly going up over time. And that turned out to be an issue sometimes because if you set it to increase too fast, then in between the time that it was submitted and the time that it actually was executed, the price would change and it would cause it to actually like revert. So that was one thing that we were just like, oh yeah, that's not really working how we wanted it to, so we just turned it off. We could bring it back. There's all kinds of ways that we could make that work, such that like it has limits over how much of a price difference it could be over a certain amount of time, and like put caps on what that should be. There is ways to do that, so I'll say it is possible. We just need to see if it's a priority. I've also seen some things from the community that look really cool that are being built around auctions. I won't really name any names, but there's some cool things there that might also help to come in and sort of like be able to fill that niche a little bit. And I'm all about encouraging building. So I'll say that we could bring it back. We might bring it back, but it probably won't be within the next like short term. Yeah. There you go.
Very nice. Appreciate that. Let's see. A question on crafting. Will we be able to enchant weapons with different elemental damage?
Yeah, I can take that one. So at the moment, we do not have any plans for there to be like elemental damage in the system. There's basically just physical and magical damage. So that would kind of be expanding the scope and would have major impacts on basically everything we've been spending all our time on for the past year. So I don't expect that will happen, but I suppose maybe down the road once we have all the dust is settled and things have we've got it all in, then maybe we'll consider adjustments like that. But that's a big maybe. So
Very nice. Similarly, any thoughts on could blacksmithing, for example, have like a temper feature where you can find a different ore and use that ore to provide a temporary boost to a weapon?
that's an interesting idea. I think with the way we're going to be doing enchantments, like every temporary thing or anything that we're doing, like this is going to run on chain, so there's a lot of different tracking that needs to happen. Like things where like temporary buffs, that's going to need to be more storage, which means more gas for people when we do things like that. So as cool as that sounds, I think probably that's a little bit too deep in the weeds for equipment. But we may have ways to do like temporary buffs just for a hero in general. That may come in the future, but that you'll have to wait and see until we get further along for that kind of thing.
Very nice. The next question The team has been announcing some pretty cool collabs lately. Thank you. The one that comes to mind is Dragon's Crossing. Any thoughts on doing like a PJ style badge for using a DFK hero there? Maybe this badge could increase a stat, HP, or skill level slightly. I'll kick that off, and then anybody's welcome to chime in. The main thing there, in my opinion, is, and this goes both ways. We have to be very careful about not putting someone behind because they choose to not participate in a non-DFK activity. Similarly for Dragon's Crossing, that's also something that, they had to solve for by by allowing DFK heroes to be used, is make sure that, those players don't have an advantage because they're using a DFK hero, right? And so that's kind of the main thing there. It's not that there's nothing that could be done. There's definitely some brainstorming that could go into that. But I think, saying, well, you played this other game and therefore you now have, what is technically speaking an advantage over people who didn't play that game. I think that gets into some dangerous territory there. Anything anybody wants to add to that? I will take that as a no. So this one we've talked about before, but since we are on the horizon, so to speak, I'm going to throw it out there again. Will the potion/consumables system be ready for boar hunts?
No, it will not. But there will be potions to consume in the fight. But yeah, as far as having that be something that you bring your own potions in, that's not going to be available at launch. We're considering having that be something we add down the road. So it may be that at least for the initial time, you guys will have, I guess it'll be a little bit easier because you'll have the resources available to you, but those resources might need to be your own resources later. So I guess take advantage of it while it lasts.
I like it. Let's see. What are your short, medium, and long-term plans for the jewel collected by the validators? If no specific plans, what are the various options being considered, and any potential timing for those options? Fox Magnus?
Yeah, so those were set aside to basically fund the the costs of like running the validators. It is expensive to run that architecture, and so that's really just in that budget. Up until now, we've actually been spending like the budget, or we've been paying for those out of sort of like the existing coffers that we have. But that is there for that as well, and so that's the plan, is to use that for those purposes as well. Speaking of validators, though, I did want to talk a little bit about sort of like the current state of our validators and like the plan for that. For some reason, I always say validators. Validators. So we've actually made some really cool things, or really cool changes over the past couple months, and we haven't really announced them yet. So now's a good time. We've been working with some third parties to help us to decentralize who runs those validators. And we've got two partners that are really good. Kudos to Pinecone and Magnus for like working with them. But we've been working with two separate third parties to sort of like run those. And we moved 2 of our 8 validators over to them over the last couple months. We started out small, and we sort of like had one get sort of like weighted lower than like the rest of them were weighted, to make sure that it was able to run smoothly before we scaled it up. And we had some kinks and things that got worked out along that way. And then as those were going well, we sort of spun up the other one too. And so now we've got basically 3 separate entities that are like running validators, and we want to make it so that those are more balanced, such that no entity controls a majority amount of the validators, at which point we'll be very, very decentralized, which I'm super excited about, because that's always been the end goal there. So it will probably be moving 2 more of our validators over to each one of those, or 1 more over to each, which would be 2 more. And then we'll be looking at what else we can do there to further decentralize that, make it be more secure, and make sure that everyone's assets are always as secure as they can possibly be. We're also actively working with Avalabs to see if we can pioneer some things there to allow for a multi-sig setup for the subnet config and things like that, which they have on their roadmap, and they're planning to work on, I believe, after they launch some updates to Warp messaging, I think it was. So that's exciting. That will also further secure things. And in the end, we just want to make sure it's a really decentralized experience for people. The other thing that is nice about this approach we're taking is as we have more third parties that are running these validators, the expenses actually start to go down because oftentimes they're able to do it for less than we could internally. So that's awesome. And they've got really good professional teams that are managing those. And it sort of like frees up more of our hours to do other things as well. Magnus, was there anything that you wanted to add here? I know I'm probably forgetting something, but over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the like cost of running validators is definitely like pretty significant, and so it's been really good these last few months to really examine that and trim that down, and part of that was also moving to external providers as well, third parties, because they manage the upgrades and things like that. So it frees up our team to do what we do best, and that's building smart contracts and then building a Web3 game. So yeah, just really excited about that future. And then like Fox mentioned, Elastic subnets are going to be unlocked for us at some point in the near future, and I'm excited to dive into that a potential migration path there. Obviously, there's some economic considerations around that we have to discuss and really weigh out. But yeah, awesome that Ava Labs has added that on top of the already great subnet offering. I did want to mention while we're on the topic of subnets and validators, if you're running an RPC node, it would be good to update to Avalanche Go v1.10.11, and the subnet EVM pairing with that is v 5.6, and that will probably help with getting your transactions through faster. There are some changes to the way transactions are gossiped around, and so you may have seen like transactions getting stuck for some addresses, and so that's been addressed by Ava Labs recently. So it would be good to update your nodes if you're running that. But that's it for me. Hand it back to Fox or to Bolon.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me too. I'll just say that this has been a thing that we've been pioneering subnets since it launched. We were the first subnet and still are like the biggest one. And so we'll continue to be doing that and sort of working hand in hand with Avalabs on that front to make sure that we get the FK chain to the very best state that it can be in. And it's just been improving ever since it launched, and I'm really proud and really excited about that.
Most definitely. Let's see. We're going to hit some of my favorite ones. At some point, the hero number on the card became clickable as a way of copying the full ID. Is this something we can do for the pet card as well? Dr. Zipper.
Yep, did it.
Let's see. Can we have some mobile and desktop wallpapers with good resolution? Would be cool, especially for iPhone lock screens. I really like that idea. I can't do it, but I am going to pass that on to the art or to the digital team because I think that would be really good for them, and I think that would be a lot of fun to have. So we'll look into that. Let's see. So talking about rate limiting, especially when using a the custom Pocket RPC and the RPC calls, Dr. Zipper?
Yeah, so some of you may have noticed that there were some changes that went up yesterday. Did some optimizations to the interface that should dramatically decrease the number of RPC calls that the interface is making in the background. Just while kind of sitting there and not actively doing anything. By my calculation, we managed to reduce it by about 90%. So it should make a pretty good difference to those of you who are using pocket RPCs and that have specific daily rate limits. So hopefully that will be noticeable to really everybody.
That was 9-0,
That was 9-0.
as in 9/10.
Yes.
18/20. I'll stop. Yeah, no, that's super exciting. Let's see. When can we cancel quests from our hero catalog again? Mr. Zipper? Dr. Zipper?
Yep, did it.
Let's see. Different question that won't just be Zip saying he already did it for a second. With the current landowners having a very cool, limited, and unique resource, is it a possibility that we would see a smaller or lower tier of lands, or would there only be one tier? Hubert, I guess that would be a you.
I was totally distracted in the chat.
Oh,
and
I
not
got you.
listening.
With the current landowners having a very cool, limited, and unique resource, is there a possibility of having smaller or lower tier lands, or will it all just be one land?
I think it's a little too early to say. There have been some ideas about that, and I think it's going to come down to like how that can all work in a manageable way for players. So if we have too many lands and too many features in all of these other lands, it could just become a nightmare of trying to find what you're looking for. And also, we do plan to have lands being pretty integral to gameplay in the future with crafting and traveling and all sorts of other things. So, the focus needs to just need to make sure that the overall gameplay experience is fun and manageable by players, and so that I guess that'll be one of the thoughts behind how we adjust anything with the land if we do.
Very nice. Any early thoughts or ideas that you would care to share was the second part of that question. You can say no. So we're gonna snag a couple more questions and then we'll roll the rest over. Obviously, we didn't have an AMA last week. We had a sneak peek, so we're a little bit behind on our questions, but we will get caught up. So if we don't get to your question, don't worry. It remains at the top of the list for the following week. If dueling was just, this is for you, Fox, if you didn't pick up on that, if dueling would be just one transaction, would it be cheaper, or is that even an option?
Yeah, would it be cheaper? Yes, it would, obviously, because there's just the one transaction. That said, how it's currently set up, where we actually can do multiple like matching in a single transaction, and also do multiple duels or like up to, I think it was 10 duels from a single entry. We've already reduced the costs by a lot for it. That said, we do still need some amount of randomness, and that's really the sort of like the long pole in the tent here, is that if we just had a single transaction, it makes it so that randomness can be gamed. There's like certain ways that you could do that. So that's really what it's about, is just securing it to making sure that we have a unpredictable outcome of like the randomness by having a first transaction that's used as sort of like a anchor point for the randomness seed that helps to generate that randomness. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else we could do. Like we have looked at other chains and other techs, and even creating our own precompiles for our subnet that could help us to handle like randomness in a more unpredictable way. And there is some opportunities there, but a lot of those things would entail doing things like a Oracle approach, similar to what Chainlink does, where you'd have sort of like a trusted source of randomness, which could be us, and then that would be used to sort of reduce the number of transactions that the end user would have to do, but you'd have to increase the amount of gas you pay in that transaction because you'd also have to fund the transaction from our side. There would still be two transactions. It's just that we would be submitting one of them. So not a ton of savings. There's other ways to do it too, where you can do like multiple randomness seeds from like one thing that could result in a true single or at least one to very many transactions, which we'll probably look at as well as we start to pioneer more and more features. But yeah, I think that's sort of a rambling answer, but in the short term, no, it's not something that we have slated. But I'll just point out again that it is already a lot cheaper than it used to be because of the optimizations we've already made. I think in season, was that 3 or 4? I can't remember. But yeah, there you go.
Can you tell me in detail how to game randomness in a single transaction? Just kidding. Please don't.
Yes. Okay, I won't. But yeah, I think I've talked about that elsewhere though in the past. But yeah, it's just how the blockchain works. You can there's interesting things you can do with that because everybody has to run the same code and have it result in the same answer on the whole like network. So it's kind of tricky to do randomness.
Nice. All right. Last question for today, because I think this will be a really fun one and a good one to end on. So, probably a lot of Hubert and Beetle, but anybody is more than welcome to jump in. How does the Void Hunt tie into the lore?
Yeah, Beetle, do you want to start?
Sure. I guess. Yeah. I'll try. If nothing I say makes sense, just ignore me. But yes, a bit ago, I don't know, maybe it's been 2-3 months. We were kind of going to the drawing board a little bit because I think a little bit of what DFK had been missing up to that point was kind of an overarching story theme, some kind of grounding. You could call it lore, but I don't like the word lore. World building, perhaps, with a game. So we kind of went to the drawing board and wrote up essentially what the main I guess baddie would be, the main story points would be, and we really wanted to build off of the Sword of Saffronox because that's kind of a huge thing for an entire world to be essentially ripped apart by a huge giant sword. And so yeah, I mean, I think the idea is that the Sword of Saffronox has shattered, that the shards that have gone out into the world, millions of shards, have these kinds of powers, these supplemental powers, that kind of either buff or, in the case of void shards, corrupt those who come in contact with them. And void shards specifically are supposed to be sort of the shards that have been corrupted by darkness or by events happening around them that have kind of infused into these shards. And I'm saying a ton, but maybe Hubert can back me up if there's more that I'm missing, to give me a break.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think in a lot of fantasy stories, there's kind of an overarching evil that is kind of referred to, like in Wheel of Time. There's the Dark Lord, and in Lord of the Rings, there's kind of its own kind of source of the void that like Morgoth and many others come from. And I don't think we're going too far away from kind of that trope of there being, an overarching source of evil that is like the void, and the void corrupts. The void is is kind of where evil comes from, and the void seeks power and corruption, and there's a lot of power in this god, a god's weapon that could completely sunder the world. And so yeah, the void has corrupted these shards. Collecting them is potentially dangerous for you, but it does also have potentially an advantage if you can purify those in some way. So that's kind of where we're going with that, like the idea of the void and of there being kind of a counter pose to the just I guess the sense of good, like Gaia is the world and the god that oversees everything. And there's usually there's good and evil, light and dark, that sort of thing, and this is kind of just going along those same lines. And we're going to be fleshing it out as we go, with the void shards being corrupted shards of Saphronox. Collecting a lot of them could attract greater evils to you, as kind of the approach we're planning to go with that. And yeah, I think it'll be something that we'll constantly be referring to as we're adding more game content and more story and world building into the game, is just kind of that encroaching darkness that's kind of coming around. So everyone's kind of had it easy just fishing and gardening all this time, but now the darkness has come and these boars are mad.
Yeah, they are. Awesome. Very much appreciate that. Super excited for it. I thought that would be a fun way to wrap up today's AMA. I'll just add, as always, thank you to everybody involved in these AMAs. Really appreciate you guys. Don't ape into broken mechanics. Any final thoughts from anybody? And then I'm going to make Dr. Zipper bullish us, because I never get to make him come on the AMA, and I did this time.
I just want to reiterate how huge this update is going to be. This is like rebuilding pets with equipment.
Would you say that they are big boars?
And the boars, they're big boars. They're huge. So yeah, I just want to make sure everyone understands that this is going to be very large, and hopefully everyone got a chance to look at the patch notes. Maybe we were going to talk about that briefly, but the patch notes are also hopefully eye-opening.
I totally neglected to mention those, but yeah. Yeah, the patch notes, if you haven't seen them, those kind of show all the things that have changed, which is basically everything since we've been releasing things. Those first three classes that we designed, as we've been designing all the classes, we've come up with new mechanics, come up with new approaches for things, figured out this makes it more strategic, more thought invoking for the players and whatnot. And I think there was a bit of that lacking in the knight and the priest and the archer, and I think we've now infused some of that, what we kind of gained later in our design efforts, back into them. So I do think those classes have all had a really nice facelift. The combat engine in general has had a very nice facelift. We've gotten a lot of new graphics in there. We have a lot more to come, and the way that the equations behind everything, the math has all been changed. Has mostly all been changed in a way that I think is much better, making it so that regardless of what level you are, if you have a hero that is relatively good in terms of one stat or another compared to other heroes, like, you will feel that as you play. You'll see that a high luck hero has a higher crit chance than low, and like significantly higher. And yeah, just also wanted to echo what Beetle said. Like, this is kind of a turning point, I think, for DFK. We've had all this time. We've had just profession quests, gathering quests. We've had our mini game duels, but this is the first time that we're going to have gameplay where player choice is everything, and where a lot of things are going to matter. Where people are going to be deciding what gear they want to take, and coming up with different strategies for things. And with this step being made, it creates, every step we take beyond this point is now more and more towards making the game feel more like a game, and having those core gameplay features that it's been lacking. So I am super excited to get this in everyone's hands. I warn you again, these fights are hard. Don't go into it thinking that it's going to be a walk in the park. It will not be. You may need to, when you do your first fights, like the ability to retry will let you just restart with the same conditions that you had before. But but like if you chose skills that you don't like or whatnot, you will have to kind of cancel out and then restart again with different skills. So that's also kind of mimicking how things will be in the future when skills become a little bit more permanent. At the moment, you can kind of just swap your skills anytime you start a fight, besides just the retry. So just want to warn you guys, like you're going to have to find the way, and it's not very straightforward. So good luck, but I hope you enjoy it. I am very excited for this, and hopefully we'll get that out to you pretty quick.
I'm so excited. Any other final thoughts from anybody? All right. Dr. Zipper, give us a bullish.
Oh, sure. Well, we're over time already, so I'll keep it relatively brief. But I was just looking at the calendar and happened to notice that it was actually 1 year ago today that I joined the team, which is pretty exciting. And kind of unexpected. I'm not really sure where all the time flew by, but it did, because time is literally meaningless in this space. So I just want to reiterate how great it's been to work on this team. How let's see, aflutter with excitement I am about all of the things that we have coming up, bubbling with anticipation even. To just echo what Hubert and Beetle were saying, like, this is a big patch, and it really is going to change things, and it really starts to get us so much closer to the vision that and all these guys had when we got started quite some time ago. So all of that is to say, it's great to be here. It's great to come to work with such a great team every day, and I am bullish.
Bullish on Zipper.
Bullish. Thank
Happy
you, Zipper.
birthday.
Thanks, man.
See y'all next week.